Hello and welcome to the Home Turn YouTube channel. My name is Josh. I am your presenter today. I hope you're all having a fantastic day wherever you are. I'm back again now with another Cheltenham Festival preview video. We've only really got another week or so until the biggest 4 days in jumps racing, and I cannot wait to get everything kicked off. Today we'll be focused on the open races, having already covered off the novice and juvenile hurdles, along with the handicaps and also the novice chases as well. The only others we need to cover is actually the mares races, which we'll do in a separate video, and which will hopefully be out later in the week. This one with the open races, we aim to have this out by ideally Tuesday, and then we're going to have the mares races out by Thursday, and then we'll look towards some of the action on either Thursday night or Friday at Sandown, because they've got the EBF final there and the Imperial Cup actually. So it's a pretty good card at Sandown. So I'll make a little video for that, depending on if there's anything I really see. As I said, today's video is looking over the Cheltenham Open, well, basically all the Cheltenham Festival Open races. So, talking Champion Hurdle, talking Stayers Hurdle, Champion Chase, Ryanair Gold Cup. And I was going to put in the Hunter's Chase here, but I've looked through it and I have no idea about point to point form. I'm not going to try and bore you and sit here for 3 or 4 minutes making a case for anything because I don't have that. So for me, the Hunter's Chase is a completely is just close your eyes and throw a dart and see where it lands. So there's no point me making any content on it. So we'll cover off the 5 main open races. And that'll be our day today. I will just let you know this is not going to be as long from what I can see as our other novice chases and juvenile and a novice hurdle video, simply just because there's a lot of short price favs at the top of the market for some of these open races, and it's hard to kind of get away from them, especially with the likes of the Champion Hurdle, and then obviously you've got the Champion Chase and even the Gold Cup. There is still a bit more in the Gold Cup to talk about, but mainly those 2 mile races, they're a little bit underwhelming. So I don't think this is going to take as much time, but I want to get it done just before Cheltenham Festival fever kind of kicks in. So I appreciate everyone who's already watched all of our videos so far. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It helps us every single day. And we'll get into the video now. And firstly, kicking off with the hurdle races, so we're going to start with the Champion Hurdle, a feature race of the Tuesday. I mean, looking towards it, obviously we've had the news now this week, or this week just been obviously with the Constitution Hill issue. Obviously, he scoped dirty after a really substandard workout at Campton. I believe that was that on Tuesday or Wednesday morning. I believe. Obviously, we've all seen the videos. We've heard the noise he was making that day. Clearly, wasn't good. And I think Monday being tomorrow, tomorrow will be D-Day in regards to when blood work comes back to see if he's ready to go or potentially going. I get the vibe that I imagine Nicky will probably not run him. I'd say even regardless. Not the ideal prep, obviously. I imagine the Kempton workout is probably going to be the final touches on him, all to have him all guns blazing for Cheltenham. And I just think if Nicky's not 100% with one, he just won't send him there. He's obviously had issues before with the likes of Altior, Sprint Sacra. I think he knows with a star, you can't always force a hand. I just have a feeling he will probably not run, unfortunately, on a Tuesday, which is unfortunate because I'm going. And I tried to see him at Sandown with the Fighting Fifth was on there, and he got rearranged and obviously got pulled out for because of the mud. I was thinking, okay, well, I'll get to see him at Cheltenham, but clearly maybe it's me. I bring some bad luck to him. Every time I seem to go to a racetrack that he's meant to be at, he doesn't seem to run. So clearly that might be my fault. Obviously, I hope he gets better soon. In regards to if he doesn't run at Cheltenham, I really hope then that means that he will not go to Aintree. I hope he goes to is it Leopardstown at the end of the season. I think that'd be interesting. Take on State Man in his own backyard. I think that could be obviously of interest. As I said, but at the moment, I would err on the side of caution. He's 2-1, best price at the moment. I'm not sure if that's non-run no bet. It is actually because it's with 365. I think they go non-run no bet. So if maybe that's a pretty juicy price, but I'd also think it's just not going to run. So for me, it's just not really a betting race at the moment. Champion Hurdle. Obviously, that would then catapult State Man to odds-on favoritism, which he rightfully should be. I think if Constitution Hill doesn't run here, he will batter everything else in this. Because if you look down the list, I mean, you've got the likes of, I mean, Irish Point may well be rerouted here if Constitution Hill doesn't go, which would be a shame because I was going to get into it in a second in regards to Stayers Hurdle. I think he would have a massive chance in the Stayers Hurdle. He'd probably be my strongest bet in any of the open races. He would have probably been a tip for that Stayers Hurdle. If he goes to this, he's just not going to beat State Man. That's just for a fact, to be honest. Irish Point, I don't think he's a two mile horse. Obviously, placed behind Marine Nationale and that Royal Bond last year, but then was pretty underwhelming at the DRF for exploding onto the scene at entry over 2.5 miles and has done his best work. Then up in Trip, obviously, last time out was a Grade One winner in the Jack de Bromhead Christmas Hurdle, Christmas time, obviously at Leopardstown. Um, so I just don't think he's a two miler. He wouldn't interest me massively as a betting proposition in Champion Hurdle, but obviously in the stairs he would. I just think Stayman would absolutely smack everything else in there. He's got lots of lossy mouth. He's definitely going to go to mares. And then we get down to Nimi Lion, who obviously won the Kingwell recently, but I don't think he's laying a glove on State Man. And then Not So Sleepy, who is now a Grade One winner somehow. Well, his last time out was is a Grade One winner in that rearrange fighting fifth. I would hope for the good of racing. And Not So Sleepy doesn't win the champion over State Man. I think this could it's going to cut up obviously. Um, about the Constitution Hill isn't, and they probably adds a few extra horses to the race. But again, it's just a bit underwhelming from a championship race perspective, and it's just a massive no bet race for me at the moment. Well done for anyone that's been on State Man on fairly big prices, 4-1, 7-2. That seems like a banker now. If Constitution Hill doesn't come, and even if he does, I think it's going to be a miracle to turn him around. I imagine they'll, as I said, sit him out until later in the spring. And as I said, moving on to the Stayers Hurdle, which is on the Thursday. The feature race, obviously, on the Thursday, the 3 mile, um, the 3 mile hurdle race on the Thursday of the festival. As I said, I've touched it on slightly in the Champion Hurdle kind of debrief. I think if Irish Point was to go here at 7-2, he would take a hell of a lot of beating. I would be probably he'd probably be my most bullish bet of the Thursday, I'd say. I think he goes there with he would go there, should I say, so with a massive chance. But obviously, by the looks of it, he's probably going to get rerouted to go for second in the in the champion hurdle, unfortunately. So it kind of leaves us in a position where it's a play on the day situation with the stayers, or to play a lot nearer the time, depending on where the declarations obviously tend to fall. The reason he's likely going to get rerouted is because Tiupu tops the market, best price 11-4 at the moment. Obviously, same connections being Rob Core and Gordon Elliott as well. And I imagine Jack Kennedy's probably going to want to ride on both of them, and that's the way they probably end up shuffling the deck. I'm not as massive fan of Tipu in this, to be honest. Obviously, last year ended up finishing second, but being reversed back to third after the incident with Dashel Drasher. So it wouldn't make a difference in regards to winning the race with Side de Burley going on to win it, which was a bit of a shock. Um, and I think it says a hell of a lot about the Stayers Hurdle division that Side de Burley uh, is a 25-1 shot on this. And I think when I looked through it, thinking, oh God, he's actually probably maybe even got a chance of TP flops in this. Because, I mean, it's just such a wide open race. I mean, from a punting perspective, I guess it's quite good, but I just cannot get a grip or grasp of this whatsoever. I mean, if Irish Point doesn't go here, then I'm completely out of the water for this one. I don't think I'll be having a bet on it at all. If Irish Point was to go, as I said, I think he'd be probably my strongest bet in any of these open races. I really, really like him. I think he's a proper stayer. I really do. People may crab a little bit of that the Christmas hurdle that he won, saying that they kind of went a bit of a crawl and then ended up sprinting home. That was on softer, heavy ground that day, over 3 miles. I don't think that wasn't a stamina test. I think he's definitely would stay, and he's clearly did the best work up in trip, from my opinion. Um, from Fupu's perspective, as I said, I think he's actually not a terrible price now. I think 11-4 is fairly decent. I think probably on the day, if our point doesn't go here, he's going to get absolutely smashed in. And if I'm being completely honest, this is last chance saloon for Tiupu. If he doesn't win this, he's never going to win one. Um, Obviously, coming off that Hatton's Grace victory against Perry Pass, he looked really good in that, and they put him away specifically for this day. Um, I just I can't get over last year for me personally. I cannot get over the fact that he lost. He didn't. He had conditions absolutely perfect on soft ground in a weaker probably race than this, and also wasn't able to get the job done then. Wasn't given the best rider that day by Davy Russell. Hold my hands up and admit that, but I just think if he was going to win one, it would have been last year, and I'm just not 100% sold. It's more of a gut thing for me personally. That's quite simply it. And if it was between him and RF Point, as I said, I think RF Point, I think you could tell is one I really wanted to go in this. You kind of move down the list. You got the likes of Crambo in there for Fergal O'Brien, obviously trying to get his first Cheltenham Festival winner on the board. I haven't been massively taken away by Crambo either, to be honest with you. I think if he was going to be this, because he is a young up and coming horse, obviously he's probably has room for improvement. But I would have liked him to have beaten Paisley Park a lot more comfortably than he did at Ascot. If I thought he was going to have a chance in this, because obviously Paisley Park has gone on frank that form since placing just behind, unfortunately getting done on the line at Cheltenham on Trials Day by Noble Yates. But I just feel as if Crambo, if he was going to be a real contender in this, he would have gone and beaten Paisley Park by a little bit extra than he did at the Ascot. He's obviously been trained to the minute for this, but at 6-1, I think he's a little bit short for me personally. And I never really had built that attachment to the horse. Again, ran. It was an interesting race, obviously, where he ran at Haydock in that day's handicap hurdle. That Slate Lane ended up winning. Again, I'm struggling to see it. Maybe it's more of a gut thing with Cranbo as well. I wouldn't be massively keen. You got lots of Noble Yates in there at 10-1. So weird, obviously, going from winning the Grand National down to the Stayers. It's normally the other way around, people tend to say. Um, it's a amazing training performance, and Emmett Mullins worked his magic to get him to win that Cleve Hurdle. Under Harry Cobden, he gave him an absolute peach of a ride that day. He's interesting, 10-1. And every he's not the most reliable of beasts. So again, that wouldn't necessarily be where my money's lie. I mean, you got like Sir Gerhard in there at 10-1 as well, who is of interest, but again, is not the most reliable sort. But obviously, back over hurdles, last time out winning in that heavy ground 2 mile 3 furlong at Punchestown. He didn't beat a lot that day, but only beat the Devil's Coachman. Whether that warrants being 10-1 shot for a stairs hurdle, I mean, it's wide open. It'd be a little bit short for me. And then Flooring Porter at 16-1. I think he's drifted a little bit now. I'm not sure if Connection's still unsure whether he goes to National Hunt Chase or here. I think he's a bit beyond it as well. And then you got the likes of Monkfish of 10-year-old in here. I just couldn't see that happening. It shows me something when I'm looking down there and thinking Paisley Park at 16-1 is an absolutely great shout. I mean, it feels actually kind of almost like it potentially is written in the stars. It's how he's going to sign out. Obviously, he's been banging on the door all season as come second 2 times, 3 times this year, and 3 times he's come second in all of them. I think he's been beaten probably cumulatively about a length, gone down to probably a nose, a head, and a short head in all of those. I think he probably has a chance in this, which is crazy to think. So does Side of Burley. I think it's home by the lead again. Probably does have a chance if he gets a fairly uncontested lead. If Thornport wasn't to go here, then he'd have a better chance. Obviously, the old boys are always flying the flag. It's not ideal. Um, I guess. I mean, from a racing perspective and a fan perspective, it's nice to see. But I guess from a kind of long term perspective, the Stayers Hurdle division once they retire in probably after this year, it looks fairly bleak for the longer term future of the division. But it's good to see for now, and I think Paisley Park is quite interesting at 16-1. He may well have an each race week. Probably going to run very well. Um, I'm just trying to look and see. For me, it's a no bet race at the moment, just because you don't know what's going to go on with the declarations. And I think if Irish Point goes here, I will be massively hammering down. Um, we're going to have a video in regards to just pre on the Monday for Cheltenham. If he's been declared for this, then it'll be potentially Napa the festival for me if he were to go, but I don't think he will. I think unfortunately he's going to go to the Champion Hurdle, pick up second place prize money there. And I guess Rob Walken are going to have two darts at two different Grade 1s, which I kind of understand, but it's frustrating from mud hunting perspective. We're going to move quickly then on to the champion chase. I'm not going to dwell too much on this. This for me is an absolutely nothing race. Obviously, El Fabiolo is a very short price favourite for this. I don't have a massively strong opinion. I think he's a 1 to 2 fav. Jonbon 3 to 1 second favourite for this. The one thing I would say, and this potentially is a play on the day, I think Jonbon, the market isn't going to change a lot in this one, in this race, to be honest with you. It's kind of going to be set there basically all the way through. I imagine it's going to stay, everyone's going to stay around the same kind of prices. I can see a world where Jonbon massively improves for obviously his defeat in the Clarence House. Having the Kid back on board, I think everyone seems to crab his jumping after that, which is rightly so. He jumped like an absolute donkey in the Clarence House. Whether that was a combination of not having Nicola Boinville on board, or who obviously had a very different riding style to James Bowen and Aidan Coleman, maybe I think, to be honest with you, for me would be the reason I would put it out as to why, to explain slightly as to why his jumping went to pot that day. Because before then, John Bond's biggest asset, basically people saying was his jumping, and now everyone's saying he can't jump. But actually, obviously, when he was a novice before, obviously it all went wrong in the Kingmaker. Well, not all went wrong. We went down fairly too closely to Calico when he made a few mistakes in that. People were saying, "Oh, this is jumping that's going to get him all the way through. He's a natural jumper of fence." And then he came out in the Schlur chase, obviously, the start of the season at Cheltenham and under Nico, and he absolutely pinged everything. And he just flew around Cheltenham. It was one of the best jumping displays around Cheltenham, I think, over 2 miles you've seen for a long, long time. People were saying that. And then obviously he came out and won his Grade One at Sandown, in the Tingle Creek. Sorry, I was there. That was completely bogged out ground, so sort of nullified some of his jumping. But he still jumped on the main very, very, very nicely on bottomless ground and did it very well up the hill. And I would just say, with Nico de Boinville back on board, it's a completely different proposition with Jonbon. I really do believe that. And I think at 3 to 1, for me, I would potentially on the day have a saver. I don't think there's no point having it now because I don't think anything's going to change up until the day. You might as well just wait until the day and you can get a better read of what the ground is like in regards to um and the going on the day would be like. I do see a world where Jonbon potentially could turn over El Fabiolo because I have not been as impressed with El Fabiolo 2 times out this year as he was going last year. He does actually have an issue with his jumping. He doesn't jump the most fluently. When Jonbon gets in a rhythm and is told basically what to do at a fence, he can get into a seriously, seriously dangerous groove. And I think could potentially put El Fabiolo's jumping under pressure, and he could make mistakes, and he's liable to do so. So for me, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Jonbon at 3 to 1 is a fairly decent bet. Nicky de Boer back on board. But again, that would be a one to watch and play on the day for me personally. It may be controversial. People probably will come at me in the comments for that, hopefully. But I do think for me personally, Jonbon has a better chance than 3 to 1. I don't think El Fabiolo should be a 1 to 2 shot on. I think you can take that on personally. And I think Jonbon with Nico de Boinville back on board is going to be the one to do that because I'm not going to bother running through the rest of the race because I don't think it's worth it. Feel lots of could have Captain Guinness in there. He may pick up third. Uh, I personally do not see the point in dwelling on the champion chase for that long afterwards because I think it's going to be between Al Fabiolo and Jonbon. Edwardstone, I don't think it's going to get very competitive. The next one in the market's Fernie Hollow, who's injured, unfortunately, again. And then you got the likes of Captain Guinness, Liz de Nuts, Appreciate It, Edward de G. I don't think any of those will really feature particularly prominently. So for me, I do think Jonbon on the day at 3 to 1 is my play. I think he's going to jump a hell of a lot better. And I think he's going to have a better chance. Just simply because I think El Fabiolo is slightly too short. Um, Now on to the Ryanair. Now these are the better punting races actually from a market perspective than the two hurdle races at the moment and the Champion Chase. I'm just pulling the entries up at the moment because heading the market obviously Banbridge best price is actually 130 now. I think that's because there's been a hell of a lot of rain in the UK over the last week. I think there's probably going to be a bit more obviously in the coming week as well. Obviously Banbridge, we all know he's not going to run unless it's good in the description, whether that's good to soft or good ground. it may even, especially with the Ryanair being what is that on the 14th, so that's going to be on the Thursday. I think it's probably going to be soft ground then. If Bambridge does run on good to good soft ground, he gets his ground. I think he's going to win this. But I think again, this is a race you can play on the day because I don't think the market's going to change massively. I think it's already kind of corrected itself. I think, personally speaking, on good soft ground, Bambridge will stroll this. I think he could absolutely stroll up. But the issue you have there is you don't necessarily know if the ground is going to be to his liking, and if it's not, he's just not going to run. That would obviously then bring in the likes of Envoy Allen, who is 72 now, second favourite. He's come under a fairly decent kind of gamble since over the last couple of weeks. I can see why. Obviously, I think he's a four-time festival winner or a three-time festival winner at least. Obviously, won the bumper as well, novice hurdle, and then won the Ryanair last year. So yeah, I think he's obviously loves Cheltenham, loves two places, Down Royal and Cheltenham, and he's probably going to go fairly well again coming into this after. Well, he came just putting up now. He was second in Down Royal, wasn't he, to Gerri Colombe. He's had a fairly actually lengthy time with attractions because that was November 11th. So he's had a fairly long break. Obviously he's been kind of lined up for the race. Yeah, he's obviously going to be a big player. I think for me the one that's being underestimated a little bit is Stage Star. It's 5-1 best price. Obviously won over course and distance was a Turner's winner last year, and then one had an amazing weight carrying performance in the December meeting, the November meeting at Cheltenham in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, wasn't it? Where he beat Not Long Till May by 4 lengths after making an absolute haul to the last. I really like Stage Star, and I think if Harry Cobden is right, he's come out and said this as well. If he hadn't ran in January on on New Year's Day, he would have probably been favourite. But obviously, he was going off top weight on completely bottomless ground in a fairly nice handicap. Ended up pulling up, and obviously was fairly disappointing. That pushed him out price wise. Apparently, his prep's gone amazingly since then, and he's they're all ready and raring for the race. He loves Cheltenham. He clear to see that as a Grade One winner over Cheltenham, course and distance. I think he's being massively underestimated, especially if it was to get soft, soft on the ground. I think the better for him. Um, or if it was on the soft side, I think he'd prefer that. I do think 5-1. I would be interested to take on Amboilen with Stage Star on the day, just because Amboilen is now a 10-year-old as well. Stage Star still 8. He's going to progress from his novice campaign. I think there's a little room for improvement from a Stage Star perspective. Maybe less so from Amboilen. You kind of know what you're going to get. If Banbridge wasn't in here, I think for me, Stage Star would be my bet in the race. I do want to mention one, and this is going to be potentially laughed out of the room here. First, I should say, conflated 11-1 maybe is an interesting shout. We all thought he was going to go to the cross country, rerouted. He's unseated in his last two runs, but I think they're both at the last fence, and he's actually been running fairly nice races in those. Obviously, you've got like Capodanno in there as well, who could run a fairly good race as well after having um, blown them away in the Cotswold Chase recently at Cheltenham. He could be interesting as well, but he's a bit short. I think 15-2 is slightly short for him. Conflated 11-1 is slightly short as well for really what he's done last time out, last two times out. I think this is a little bit of a hot take. Not a hot take. I don't necessarily think it per se, but I think it's just want to mention. I do think Hitman at 25-1 for a place or each way or whatever Hitman is the place at the moment is a fairly decent bet as well in this. He's not going to win. There's no way on God's green earth he is going to win this, but he could easily squeak into a three. I really believe that. And at 25-1 at the moment, I think he's got a lot better chance of placing like likes of Phil Door or Appreciate It or even a Fugitive or a Protector at. He's definitely going to go here. I could see him running in to place like he did last year. He's had a fairly similar, pretty much identical prep as he did last year as well. Obviously, that run at Newbury last time out behind Shishkin. I think that's a pretty nice bit of form. He ran really well that day. He loomed up. He almost looked like he was going to take him up, but obviously didn't quite have the class to do so in the Denman chase. I think I'd have put him spot on for this, and I think at 25-1 as a place angle, Hitman is definitely of interest. He's never going to win. Don't get me wrong. This is not a. I'm not under any illusion. as if he had the ability to win the race because he has the ability. I just don't think he has it up in a noggin. I do think though, at 25 to one each way, I feel as if you're going to get a place and maybe play him as a place bangle at that point as well. So I'd say for me, the two in this I really like are the Paul Nichols on stage start at 5 to 1 and Hitman. If it is the case that Bambridge doesn't come here, if Bambridge does, I think he was going to take all the beating in this. And then just finally, we're going to move on lastly to the creme de la creme of the festival, the what basically the 4 days culminates to, which is obviously the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Now, I'm just going to pull the markers up again here. So we've got there it is. So obviously Galopin des Champs is 11 to 10 best price favourite for this. He is very short for a Gold Cup, but is coming off the back of two sensational runs. Obviously over in Ireland when he won obviously the DRF in February. That was in the Irish Gold Cup. He beat fast or slow by 4.5 lengths, and he kind of stuff in that there as well. Obviously bounced right back into form in the Savills Chase just after Christmas time, smacking Gerri Colombe by just trying to confirm the length there. It was 23 lengths that day. Um, Capodanno was in third that day. Has come out on one since, and then in fourth is Iron Maximus as well, who's come out on one since. So that's not even need to kind of justify the form. He is clearly one of the best horses in training. I think if I'm being honest, I think he goes and wins. Now, the only slight angle you could potentially play in this to beat Galopin des Champs is he's coming off the back of two pretty top tier runs, and it's very difficult to continuously do that throughout your season. And he's been campaigned fairly heavily. This would be his fourth run of the season, having put in two sensational outings his last two times on the track. May have taken a slight toll, but that's the only kind of angle I think you could look down on. For me personally, I think he is going to absolutely bolt up in this. I wouldn't necessarily be having fast or slow at 5 to 1 here to beat him. Um, I think was well and truly beat at the DRF. Um, and over Cheltenham, of course, in distance, I think Galopin des Champs will have his number. South one's a little bit short as well because it's not necessarily an each way angle. Obviously, got Shishkin in there who won the Denman Chase very convincingly as well recently, which is obviously a prep run for the Gold Cup. 7 to 1 is very short. I would say now he's a 10-year-old, but also obviously with Nicky Henderson's stable form at the moment has been shocking with the amount of. I think it was recently had sort of I think 13 or 14 runners and he had seven of them pulled up, six or seven of them pulled up. Clearly, there's something going on there. Whether that's a bug or whatnot, I'm not 100%. I wouldn't be 100% sure, but I just think would make me a little windy on Christian's chances as well. The ones I think are of interest. The first one would be Gerri Colombe. I think at 11 to 1, he drifted a little bit too far. Obviously, a slight overreaction to what happened that day in the Savills Chase. Obviously, wasn't anywhere near good enough that day. Obviously, we only went down a half length to Capitano, but Capitano has gone on one since then in the Grade 2 in the Cotswolds Chase. So it's not exactly terrible form. And I think, obviously, Gordon's at the time weren't running to any kind of that level or any kind of nearly the level they are. I think Joe Colombo is going to improve significantly for that. I think he's going to relish the extra 2 furlongs up the old course at Cheltenham as well, much more so than he preferred the Brown Advisory over the new course for 3 miles. I do think at 11 to 1, he is a good shout each way. I really do. If there is any chink in Galopin des Champs' armour, or maybe there's slight weakness from the last two fairly heavy campaign with the last two scintillating runs he's had, I think Joe Colombe is going to be testing into towards the end. It may well just be a kind of plug on and finish in second or third, but I think he's going to run better than 11 to 1 would suggest. And the other one would be Bravemansgame. I think at 16 to 1 is a big price as well. Obviously, there's not had a great season after placing the Gold Cup last year, but yeah, he's never been out of places. He's come second in all three of his races this year. He, I think he probably would have won the Charlie Hall, obviously against Gentleman's Game if he hadn't made an absolute mess of the last fence and was also giving £6 away as well that day. And then went to Haydock and in the Betfair Chase, and I just think got done by out and out stare and Royal Pagaille over an extra trip, which is obviously testing ground at Haydock as well. And then, if I'm being honest, if how do I put this? No, I think see if Shishkin hadn't fallen in the King George, I think he probably would have won. But had Shishkin not fallen and had to basically taken out Bravemans's game, taken him out by 3 or 4 lengths, I think Bravemans's game would have won that had he not just fallen into him basically. I think Hewitt wouldn't have picked him up. He obviously had to took a few lengths, took a pull to be regathered, and then came back for more. I think he showed it. He was back a lot to his old ways that day, and that showed me maybe that he's back on the right track. And I think he's going to obviously be primed for a minute. He's had an 80-day break already. He's going to have another 80, 90 days since he last ran. We freshened up by Paul Nichols, and he's fairly bullish on his chances. I think it's 16 to 1 each way would be an interesting play as well. But again, that'd be a watching brief. The ones I couldn't have in this, I wouldn't be having Current Rambler at 22 to 1. I don't think he's going to have anywhere near the class. The other one I wouldn't have is Gentleman's Game. He had 3 runs of offensive, three. Uh, And they've all been in small fields. I think they've only been in the biggest fields have been 6, 7 runners. Couldn't have him. Nowhere near enough experience to be taking on this level of opponent, especially in Hustle and Bustle or Gold Cup Day at Cheltenham, for me personally. And the other one is Long Press. I don't think he have anywhere near enough, anywhere near good enough to be competing in a Gold Cup at Ascot. And no matter what Connection said, I don't think they would believe that Ascot Chase has put him anywhere in the right position to um, a win a Gold Cup. So for me, I do think Gallup and Jean probably will win, but looking at the bigger prices, I think Joe Colombe is massively overpriced, and I think Bravemansgame again is also massively overpriced for this race. Um, and as I said, I'll throw a dart at the Hunter's Chase now just to finish everything off. Premier Magic, why not? We'll run it back. It's 7 to 1. Uh, it's not a tip, but I have no insight into any pointers at all. Um, but that's everything from me in regards to the open races. I know there's not actually been a tip today, and I apologise for that. Put up a lot of the ones to watch, but I just think that the open races at Cheltenham are very, very wide open, as they said in the name. So there's a lot of play on the days, a lot of ones to watch in there. I've noted. So I think for me, the strongest one, if it's looking likely, if Irish Point ends up being confirmed to go to the Stayers, he is my bet of potentially bet of the festival in regards to all these open races. Um, I do really like Banbridge as well in the Ryanair if it's good soft ground. I have a feeling it may well not be. And for me, at that point, then I'd probably be backing Stage Star to beat MYLN. But again, Hitman 25 to 1 each way maybe is an interesting play squeak. And I do think Gallop and Trump probably wins the Gold Cup, but I do think that Jerry Colombe Brave games are overpriced. And I think on the day as well, just have a look at Jonbon's price on the day because I think he'll run a significantly better race than he has last time in the Clarence House. So I appreciate everyone's time for watching. I know this has been a fairly shorter video than we normally used to with the preview videos, and maybe not obviously having the tips that we normally would. So I do apologise, but we will be back this week to finish off our Cheltenham preview series with the mares, all the mares races, so the mares hurdle, the mares chase, and obviously the mares novice hurdle as well. That will finish off our previews for Cheltenham. We're just going to have a video next Monday, which is the day before Cheltenham kicks off, with a summary of everything we're going to go through and look towards, obviously, the week ahead. But that's all from me now, guys. So I'll catch you later. Please, as I said, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Or follow me on Twitter as well, because we'll be posting stuff there. So appreciate everyone's time and have a good evening wherever you are, or a good day. And I will catch you soon. Bye.